Have you ever delivered on a gig and at the end of it, you felt like, oh my gosh, I definitely needed to charge way more than I did? Well, today we're going to talk about how to charge more for your creative services. Hello, creatives. I'm Adrienne Lloren, the host of the Thriving Artist Masterclass. During this expert interview series, we'll be discussing how to position, package, and pitch your creative work to resonate with more buyers. Today, we have Mike Shreeve. Mike Shreeve is an award-winning author and creative entrepreneur. For years, he's been the creative behind the scenes in building the businesses of some of the most famous authors and experts in the world. Now, he spends a portion of his time helping other creative service providers learn how to build sustainable and purpose-driven businesses. Recently, he has turned his passion for creativity and helping others into a worldwide movement known simply as the No Pants Project. Through his No Pants effort, Mike helps struggling creatives to get paid fair fees, find better clients, and build businesses that provide lifestyle flexibility and financial security through smart practices. Here to take us from starving to thriving is Mike Shreeve.
Thank you so much for having me. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's going to be so much fun. I'm so honored to have you. Like, I was looking at your website, and in the past decade, you've been working with brands like Mel Robbins, Success Magazine, Russell Brunson, Peter Diamandis. Like, I'm super into like personal development, entrepreneurship, marketing. So I was just like,
Yeah.
whoa, these people are like really incredible people that I look up to. So I feel really privileged to be able to pick your brain today, and I hope everybody else tuning in feels that privilege right now too.
Yeah, I think I'm really, really excited for people to listen to this because, talking about Mel Robbins and Peter Diamandis, and there is a lot to be gained from working on the stuff in between your ears, like working on the mind stuff. I think, especially when it comes to price. And so I'm really excited to get going because I think there's going to be a lot of people who are going to listen to this and they're going to walk away and it's going to be a little mental shift that allows them to charge 2, 3, 10 times what they're already charging. It's not like this thing where you have to, build a whole big marketing system and, all this stuff. Really, if you want to change your price, it's the stuff that's in your head that makes the biggest difference. And I'm really excited to be talking about that today.
Yeah, super stoked. I want to get one question out of the way though, because it's a burning question inside of me. Are you or are you not wearing pants right now?
I am wearing my pajama sweatpants.
Okay, I just wanted to know how authentic to your brand you were. And I've been dying to ask you this question ever since you said yes, you'll be on the show. Okay, great. Now that that's out of the way, let's dig deep into pricing. So, what is the number one thing? Well, you kind of hinted mindset. Number one thing that keeps creatives from charging more?
So I think the number one thing is absolutely mindset, but specifically, it's this idea that price and negotiation is a battle. In that, I think a lot of creatives, one of the things that one of my mentors taught me. One of my mentors is Jonas Cease, and he's a New York Times best-selling author, and he's helping me do some fiction stuff. And one of the things he mentioned is that the creative brain is not a good business partner. Um, and the what he means by that is that what fuels and energizes the creative part of our brains is not the same skill set or the same desire or it doesn't have the same goals as someone trying to run a business. And if you're a creative person and you're trying to make a living out of it, there can be internal tension between, well, there's this creative side of me, and then there's a side of me that needs to pay the bills. And what happens is that tension is sometimes displayed or sometimes felt at what you would consider like points of maximum confrontation. Okay. Now, in our vernacular now, we think confrontation is a bad word, that it means all negativity. But
Mm,
there's good confrontations as well. Some people call them collision conversations. Basically, it's the point at which you need to figure out what's going on. So you need to confront the silence,
mm,
right? You've been like sitting down and having a conversation with someone and saying, look, we haven't talked in a really long time. Let's address this. So that's a positive confrontation. There may be discomfort, but as a creative, one of those sort of points of maximum confrontation is asking to get paid and saying, I need this much money.
mhm,
And so one of the things that's very helpful in removing the anxiety and removing the fear and removing the stress that comes from having that specific conversation is to realize that you're not there to battle your client. You're not there to get as much money as you can, and they're there to get as much, or pay as little as they can. That's not what the negotiation is for.
mm,
The purpose of discussing price with your client is to figure out what is the most that you can do for them and what can they afford to allow you to do as much of that as possible.
mhm,
So a lot of times creatives think that the market determines the price, which is to say, well, I saw someone else who was a writer and they're charging $50. I better charge $50.
mhm,
That's not how pricing works. How pricing works is, what does it cost for you to do the best possible job you can do on this particular thing?
mhm.
That should be your price. And we can talk about pricing strategy a little bit later, but
Yeah, I
that's
was
what your
just
ultimate,
thinking.
that's, what's that? Sorry?
I was just thinking, like, because you were saying earlier, we're going to talk about how you can, like, two times, three times, even four times your pricing. And if people are thinking at that and, like, freaking out, being like, what? How is that even possible? We're actually going to do a little, like, experiment later at the end of this call where we're going to use me as the guinea pig and we're going to show you how we can do that.
Yeah, I'm super excited. It's
Yeah,
gonna be
I'm
fun.
terrified, but I'm excited at the same time, which is a
Yeah.
good mix, I find. Okay, okay, carry on.
Yeah. Um, so you have to figure out, what do I need to be able to create at my highest ability? And you have to start to consider things like, well, I know maybe I have been doing rush graphic design jobs for clients off of Upwork.
Mhm,
And in the past, I would do a logo in 4 hours. But is that really the best that you can do?
mm,
If it isn't the best that you can do, and you actually need 8 hours, 12 hours, 14 hours, and this is where you have to get a little bit selfish and you have to let the creative brain take over and then build a business around it. You have to say, look, you know, yeah, I listen to these guys and they say hustle, hustle, hustle for 16 hours. But if I'm constantly burnt out and I'm constantly turning in things that I know is not my best work, am I really doing the best thing for my client?
mm. These are
I think a
such
lot of
great questions to
creatives,
ask yourself. Yeah.
yeah, I think a lot of creatives think that charging more is doing a disservice to the client. Because again, the creative brain is not a good business partner. The creative brain says, well, my work's not good enough. There's a lot of self doubt, so I need to charge less.
Mm,
But that's not thinking like a business. A
mhm,
business that stays in business is a business that serves its people as best as it can. And so
mm.
if you are undercutting your own prices, you are likely not delivering your best work. If you're not delivering your best work, you have to be careful. You can develop a reputation that
Yeah.
can travel depending on what circles you serve. Excuse me.
Yeah.
And so it's really important, I think, the question was, what's the most important thing? The most important thing is to understand that it's not a battle. Price is not a battle. Price is the line you draw in the sand, which is, if you want my best work, here's what it costs.
Mm,
And you figure out that number by reverse engineering your own life. So in the No Pants Project world, we call it the freedom number. It
okay.
is, how much do you need to make per month and how much do you want to work that would maximize your ability to be creative, right? So some people are creative at 40 hours a week. I am not one of those people. I
Mm-hmm.
can maybe do 4 hours or 5 hours of creative work per day. And I'm like, I can't do any more than that. I've tried it, in the old way, but this is just better. So if I
Yeah.
want to make, let's say, $10,000 a month,
Mm-hmm.
I need to say my billable hours, those 4 to 5 hours a day, Monday through Friday, need to add up to $10,000 a month. And I need to figure out then how can I create a service? And we'll probably talk about this a little bit later. How can
Mm-hmm.
I create a service? How can I create a profit? What can I create? What can I do strategically in my business to make
Mm-hmm.
sure that that happens? And
Yeah.
then you start to reverse engineer that price information.
Yeah. Okay, so let's say now they've figured out that price. Say it's in the $1,000 because we're like going big here. And
Yeah.
now they're thinking, oh my gosh, but what if my clients aren't willing to pay for this? Why do you feel like people think that way?
I think that people think that way because you attract what is inside of you. And I'm not talking about that from a woo woo standpoint. I'm talking about it from a communication standpoint. So, for example, clients who pay more
Mm-hmm.
speak a different language and have different expectations than clients who want to pay less. For example, if you're in a conversation with someone
Mm-hmm.
and you start to backpedal yourself, which a lot of creatives do. Again, the creative brain can sometimes betray us, because the creative brain, I can't remember, it was one of the MPP, or sorry, an NPR hosts has this really great quote, and I'm totally misquoting it. I apologize to everybody, but he basically says, one of the problems with being creative is that you've consumed a lot of creative stuff, and so you have this really like high level taste for what you do, and your kind of creative expectations are very high. But because you're kind of newer, or maybe you haven't developed your skills enough to match your taste, you automatically just assume, well, I'm not as good. That
Mm-hmm.
comes through in communication, like when you're talking to someone, where the things you say, how you talk about what it is that you do, even.
Mm-hmm.
And the clients who are willing to gamble larger amounts of money on someone they've never worked with before, which is ultimately what we're talking about, really new client relationships,
Yeah. Yeah.
they're conscious of that because empathy, meaning understanding that clients are humans too, a lot of clients get taken advantage of. And so they have a shield that they've built up over time
Mm-hmm.
where they are hesitant and they're very nuanced in the way they listen to you and the signs that you project. And
Mm-hmm.
so a lot of creatives don't feel confident about what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a sign for clients who typically have the budgets to pay well, who have gotten burned in the past.
Mm.
And it's kind of like this vicious cycle that goes back and forth.
Yeah.
And so one way to boost your confidence is to rethink what it is that you're offering. So if you are a creative and you come to the market and you say, I'm a writer, I
Mm-hmm.
write words, or I'm a designer, I design things, or I'm a musician, I write music.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with that in and of itself, in coming to say, I'll come to you and I'll write your words, is that you are commoditizing yourself. So this is what we talk about, the language, right?
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, if you are the creative, you're the one who has these brilliant ideas, and you're so, you're good at what you do, or you enjoy what you do, and you're the creative. You're like the muscle in a lot of ways behind a lot of what happens. Like marketing creatives run marketing, right?
Yeah.
Et cetera, et cetera. Uh, And when you come and say, I'm a writer or I'm a designer, here's my portfolio, the
Yeah.
problem is that you are expecting a client to turn that very baseline information into their own perceived value, which is to say, you're asking a client to sell themselves on why your portfolio is somehow better than all of the other portfolios that have been submitted when
Mm.
they themselves aren't the creative.
Mhm.
You're asking them to make judgments in an area in which they don't have experience.
Mm.
So they're not going to make the right judgments. So part of this confidence thing and part of this increasing your price thing is to look at what it is that you do
Mhm.
and to practice what we call extreme empathy. I don't think we made that up. It's probably something I just read online somewhere. But extreme empathy, which is to say, how do I talk about what I do to someone who has no idea what it
Mhm.
is that I do?
Mhm.
In other words, translating your creativity into I help certain type of people
Mhm.
achieve certain type results with this particular skill that I have.
Mhm.
Now you're starting to speak the language of people who have budgets
Yeah.
because they're looking for solutions. They're looking for answers to their problems. And they don't either have time or interest in figuring, in doing the extra legwork of figuring it out.
Mhm. Interesting. So now, with all of that in mind, a little bit switching gears, I guess here. Um, what has been the best way, I guess, in your experience, and the fastest way that creatives can start increasing their price?
So the fastest way, and the one that will deliver the biggest results, is if you make this transition to extreme empathy and realize that your creativity is one of many skills that you possess and many interests that you possess and many passions that you have. I think um, it's an unfortunate trend, and I don't mean to disagree with anyone who may be before or after or anyone involved, but to believe that you only have one passion in this life, I
Mm.
think is a flat way of looking at the human experience. I
Mhm.
know for myself, there's lots of things that I'm passionate about. I love being in the woods. I'm passionate about my kids. I'm passionate about. We do a lot of work with helping the homeless. I'm passionate
Oh,
about the no.
okay.
So as a creative, you have to take stock of all of the things that you're good at, all of the things that you are um, uh, can put creative energy into,
Mhm.
and try to come up with an offer that is more than just a single skill. In a lot of ways, and I'll give you an example here in a second. In a lot of ways, this is the transition from an employee mentality, which is I am a worker in a
Mhm.
machine and I have one specific job to do.
Mhm.
Making that transition mentally as a creative to being a business owner, if that's what you want to do. If you want to have your own business, you have to make that transition. And you say, even if you're freelancing, it's not about being a cog that you fit into somebody else's machine. It is, what is a service that I can offer
Mhm.
that grants the biggest benefit to the person who purchases it? Now, let
Mhm.
me give you an example.
Okay.
Let's say that you are amazing at graphic design. You just do incredible graphic design. The employee mentality is, I know how to do Adobe Photoshop, so I'm going to get hired to be the Adobe Photoshop person. The business owner mentality is, Photoshop is one of my skills, but you know what else I'm also really fascinated with? Doesn't you don't have to be good at it even. Just I'm fascinated by data.
Mm.
I'm left and right brained. I enjoy geeking out on spreadsheets for some reason. I didn't know that until recently. I took a lynda.com class or something, and wow.
Mhm.
A business owner would then say, instead of going to the marketplace as just another graphic designer and
Mhm.
commoditizing yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and being forced to compete at lower prices. You say, you know what I do? I help nonprofits with data driven graphic design stuff. Now, what does that look like? Maybe that looks like going into a nonprofit and saying, let me look at your landing pages that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, okay, well, here's our landing page, here's our landing page. And you say, can I look at some of your data? Okay, well, I'm going to look at your data. You know what? It looks like we could actually probably improve the design here. Let me learn how to do a split test really quick. That is now all of a sudden, you're not competing with graphic designers anymore, even though you are a graphic designer. And the majority of your work is still graphic design. It's the little tweak that you add to that, which now it becomes a solution. And it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to be just in marketing either.
Yeah.
Let's say you're a graphic designer
Mm-hmm.
and you also love human psychology. Why can't you put together something and just do something as simple as group workshops where you run design therapy classes?
Mm-hmm.
Now, all of a sudden, you're not just a graphic designer competing against all the other graphic designers. You have a unique thing to you that is solutions oriented. If you think about it, sort of, you could do graphic design for overcoming anxiety. And you think, really, graphic design for overcoming anxiety? I'm telling you guys, this is the stuff that works. It's like, be different. Don't
Mm-hmm.
try to fall in line with everybody else. You could have them come to, you could get even just something at the library for free, a little room. Everybody comes, they bring their computer, and you just make cool, expressive things and talk about anxiety and talk about, I don't know. I'm not a graphic designer, and I'm also not really good at psychology, but those are some things that you could do. That will bring you the biggest sense of confidence
Yeah.
and the biggest, you could say leverage, but really it just stems from confidence, the ability to ask for higher prices.
Yeah.
Because now you're talking to someone about not, I'll design a logo for you and let me try and see if I can justify a logo.
Yeah.
It's, here's the solution I'm going to provide. I'm going to come into your business. I'm going to look at your data. I'm going to tweak this thing. We might see some more sales. And sometimes that means you have to take some of those interests and desires that you have and
Mm-hmm.
develop them a little bit more. That's okay. It's okay to grow.
Yeah.
There's no trick that's going to work that doesn't include growth.
Mm-hmm.
So, in my opinion, you might as well grow in a skill. You might as well grow in a pursuit of your passion instead of trying to grow in terms of, let me learn sales tactics that I can pressure people into buying my stuff at higher prices. You don't want to start a relationship off like that, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so I think that's probably the biggest thing that people can do.
Yeah, so in summary of that, it's really embracing our multi-passionateness, and kind of turning all of that into a package deal in a way, getting really creative in like the keywords that keep coming up to me when I was listening to you was really like making this like solutions driven, not kind of just this is my art, buy it, but it's like knowing what you can bring to the table, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
And I hope people are like seeing the contrast of the two, because my brain is kind of blown.
This works for all types of creatives, not just creatives who offer services. So I write
Okay.
fiction.
Yeah.
And you can go into the market as a fiction writer and you can say, just like you said, this is my art, buy it.
Yeah.
And I wish you the best of luck, but that's a very difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
Um, what I have done, and again, this is where your creative brain and your business brain, your creative brain is not a good business partner. So you have to be able to either accept that your creative brain won't accept what I'm about to say,
Yeah.
or to figure out how to convince your creative brain that this is okay.
Yeah.
I believe that my fiction serves the purpose of entertainment, of entertaining someone in a positive way.
Yeah.
I think sometimes entertainment can include lessons. I mean, if you've ever seen any like docu series on Netflix, right? There's like a lot
Yeah.
of life lessons and a lot of those, right? Um, but I know that the solution I'm trying to provide is that I want to entertain someone. I
Yeah.
know also that one of my skills is writing.
Yeah.
Another skill that I have is I am obsessed with research. I love learning about new things.
Cool.
So my books that I sell and that I write in my fiction world is I try my best at writing, but I
Yeah.
rely heavily on my ability to research. So when you read my book, there's a lot of it's really deep realism, right?
Yeah.
More than other books. But the goal is entertainment. And because
Mhm.
I've been able to find that sweet spot in that same exact sort of mental approach uh,
Mhm.
to the combination of different passions, been able to do fairly well just selling my art, not even a service, just the thing that I made.
Mhm.
So it absolutely spans beyond just service providers as well.
Yeah. I'm loving this like really like high level creative thinking that's happening, and I want to just like bring it down to the ground. I'm just looking at the time too. I think it's time to do that create this offer experiment
Yes.
idea, which I'm like, my heart is pumping. I'm nervous. So, we were just talking about fastest ways to increase price. Before we hopped on to record this interview, I was talking to Mike that my background in terms of my entrepreneurial journey has always been in marketing. I was a video marketer. I was working with real estate agents, startups, small business owners, that type of thing. And then felt really disconnected to like my like authenticity and self-expression. So I randomly started to do music, just kind of like honestly, it was just for my soul. Like my soul was dying and I just needed a creative outlet. And I did that. I ended up like producing this weekly series called Toonie Tuesday, produced like over 75 episodes of me dropping a new tune every Tuesday. So my passion is songwriting. And every time I am in the studio working on music, I'm always telling myself, man, if there's one thing I can do, is like I want to do music. But up until this point and after all of this like stuff I've created for music, I haven't made a single dollar in that. And it's probably because I'm not looking at it in a business right now. It's kind of just like I'm just giving everything. So this is like bringing up a lot of resistance in me, but like I really want to use this as a case study for us to kind of create like a package offer deal right now with that. So we're going from me giving my stuff for $0 and then we'll find out where this goes.
Sounds good. I'm
Okay.
ready.
So what's the first question I need to be thinking?
Yeah. So let me ask you the big question.
Okay.
And it is, do you want the business stress applied to music?
It's a brilliant question. Um, I know for me, I do want songwriting to be a business,
Hmm.
that element of it to be a business. I want my own music to kind of be free and like that's just self-expression. So when I say
Yeah.
songwriting, it's like I want to be like part of other people's songwriting circles and help write songs for other people. Like my dream is like to be able to like drive on a road trip and like listen to radio and it's like a whole bunch of songs are playing that I wrote and it's like all these other amazing singers singing them.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. That's really, really good to understand. A lot of people don't know the answer to that, and
Okay.
they turn a passion they love doing for free into a business. And again, creativity is not a good business partner, and sometimes turning it into a business can ruin it. So it's good that you're clear on kind of what parts you want to be business and what parts you don't. It's very, very important. The second question I have is, do you want to be doing only music, or do you enjoy the other things that you were doing?
Oh, I love the other things I was doing. I've been working in marketing like ever since I was like 19. So I dabble in like graphic design, video production. I eventually want to make like TV shows and this and that and like anything like really, really creative and like visual storytelling is like a
Hmm.
space I want to play with. But I just know like in terms of my skill sets, I feel like songwriting is like one that's like really up there for me.
Okay. So there's a couple of things that we can do.
Okay.
We're gonna start some ideas, but we'll get there. So just
Okay.
flow with me here for a second.
Yeah, this is the multi-passionate like
Yeah, this is great.
bubble right
And
now.
yeah, I already see connections, which is awesome. Okay, so the
Cool.
first thing that you can consider
Uh-huh.
is what we call passion income on top of a freelance business. So let me explain that very, very briefly. What you could do is take the video stuff that you're doing right now and just triple your prices. Just don't even change it. Just whatever you're doing right now, just triple your prices and reduce your workload to 30%. Will you get less people paying those triple prices? Yes, that's what you want, because you want to free up as much time as you possibly can to devote to the music passion, that without any pressure that it's what has to pay the bills. So triple
Mhm.
your prices on whatever it is you're doing, and you have a bunch of time to explore this. That's an option.
Mhm.
Another option is that you combine all of these passions, all of these interests into a single business that may have multiple offers. Okay, so it's your business, and in your mind, you know who you're serving and what the sort of end goal is, but there's different ways that people can work with you.
You're right.
If you like visual and that side of the marketing and the production and things, and you like making music, you like working with musicians, you like working with music,
Mhm.
there's a couple things you could do. One is you could just start adding your music to the produced videos. So when someone hires you to do the marketing
Mhm.
video, you just include your music, right? So that's option number two. Just literally start adding. You would create music for people. It's like an additional little fee. Some people will buy it. That's cool, whatever.
Mm.
Then there is a third option. And what stood out to me about what you said is that you experience a lot of joy in other people running with their music.
Mm.
And
Yeah, I
this
just want
is,
everybody to be doing what they love. Like that's like
yeah,
my biggest driver.
yeah. And it's this self-analysis that will un, I don't want to say unleash, but uncover hidden opportunities.
Mhm.
Because if you think, okay, I love music, I'm passionate about music, I
Yeah.
want people who love music to be able to do music,
Yeah.
and I'd like to be a part of them doing their music.
Yeah.
You now have a long list of things that you could do because you've identified who you're going to help.
Yeah.
So, one of those things you could do
Yeah.
is you could transition from real estate agents and all those people and start using that video marketing skill set that you have and the marketing skill set that you have
Yeah.
to help struggling musicians.
Mhm. I
That's one
mean,
thing you could
that's
do.
how this show came together, was when
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out how to bring all these passions together. And when I started to do music, I started to go checking out local events and stuff like that. And I would like meet such talented people. And I'm like, then I check out their online platforms and I'm like, what's going on here,
Yeah.
guys? Like, you're so talented. What's going on?
Yeah.
Like,
Eh,
and it's just ignorance. They just didn't know what they didn't know. And
yeah.
so, which is why I'm so like passionate about like the Thriving Artist Masterclass and bringing on amazing people like you so that people can now know what they don't know. Okay, so let's fine tune this a little bit more. I know for myself, I don't want to be really doing technical video stuff anymore. I want to
Hmm.
pivot more towards like intellectual stuff. So maybe more consulting. And then when it comes to music, I find I'm more of a lyricist than like somebody who produces music and stuff. So when you were talking about like adding the music into the videos, I was kind of like, that's not resonating with
Hmm.
me. I
Hmm.
don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So let's keep fine
Yeah.
tuning this.
Yeah. Okay. So you have, you don't want to continue to do the actual production.
Mhm.
That's fine. There's a lot of people that don't want you to do the production. You don't do lyrics? Great. There's a lot of people who don't want you to do lyrics. And the product, or sorry, the
I
other way
wanna
around,
do
the
the lyrics.
production.
I
Yeah, you
love
want to
to
do
do
lyrics. Okay. The
lyrics.
production.
Yeah.
So, and you've already identified a pretty big problem which is you see these musicians, they're really good, but their marketing is a mess.
Yeah, it's so
And
sad. It's heartbreaking, honestly.
and that's important that you feel that way,
Mm.
because that's the energy you can use to price properly. Because you then take a leadership role and you say, no, 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 I'm not going to let you pay me less because I want you to actually succeed. And what
Yeah.
I need in order to give my all to this project is this much money, because that's why I need to be happy. That's why I need to be successful. And,
Hmm.
just don't be a greedy person and your rates will be fair, right?
Yeah.
Just be realistic about what you're doing. Don't
Yeah.
over promise and under deliver and all that kind of stuff. Okay. So, that there's those musicians you want to help.
Yep.
You have the skill in marketing. You're also cool about contributing to lyrics and things like that. I would start with a company that does two things. One, it transfers the skills that you have developed to other people. And number two, your company allows you to give one-on-one feedback, which is a little bit different than transference of skills. So let me explain.
Okay.
You have this thriving, this masterclass that you're doing right now,
Hmm.
Thriving Artist Masterclass. This is an example of transference of knowledge. It's going to be the interviews are coming out and people can listen to it at their home. So there's things that you have that you could teach, things that you could share.
Yeah.
Whether you charge people for that or not is up to you. You can make courses, you can make the ebooks, you can do all that sort of stuff, or you can just give it away for free.
Yeah.
With the end goal being, I'm going to give all this away for free in hopes that I am I can charge for the one-on-one experience where I work with people, as you say, in a more intellectual capacity, in a more, let's get on a phone and just talk about this, in a send me over your video, I want to see it, let me give you some tips on this kind of situation.
Hmm.
And you could very realistically earn $100,000 a year just doing that, nothing else.
That sounds
And,
nice.
and you may say, no, I'm not qualified enough. Or you may say, because I think a lot of people will hear this and like, well, I'm maybe not, as advanced as she is and all these sorts of things. But the reality is that it's not about how advanced you are.
Hmm.
It's about how willing are you to help someone.
Right.
And what I hear from you is you saying, like, the language you're using is the language of people who are able to charge more. You're saying, it makes me sad that these people aren't getting their music out. It breaks my heart, I think is what you said.
Yeah.
That's what's required, because you can learn all the other skills. Like if a client comes to you, you have a phone call and you don't know the answer, you say, you know what, give me 24, 48 hours. I have a library card. I have access to the internet. Let me go sort this out for you. I'll come back and help you. You don't have to
Hmm.
be an expert straight away. You have to be willing to serve. That's the ultimate qualifier.
Yeah, I think, and that's an area that kind of like holds people back. So you're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I need to know all the answers. I'm supposed to be this expert.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Now, to take what we've been talking about and turning it into an offer,
Hmm.
now what you have to do is you have to identify what is the solution that you're offering, meaning not what are you doing to create the solution. That you
Right.
can sort out later, right? You can sort out what's 5 phone calls or 2 phone calls or whatever. I'll give you
Hmm.
this PDF or whatever. It is, what is it exactly that you're going to help these people do? Is it, I help musicians get 10,000 views on their YouTube channel? Is it, I help musicians land deals with a marketing soup of whatever that I come up with?
Mm.
Is it, I consult musicians to, uh, I don't know.
I think,
That's where your passion and your interest and your knowledge comes in, and you say, here's what I'd like to help them to achieve.
yeah, what I really enjoy, like my favorite like piece in like in marketing is like honing in into your messaging And like I'm kind of having like a aha moment right now and realizing that's the exact same piece that I love in lyricism. It's like
Mm,
it's like communicating that message in a way that just really hits home with people.
that is really good. That's
So
very good.
so now how do we blend that into an offer?
Yeah, so this is where you know that messaging will be a part of it, right?
Hmm.
You know that in order for these musicians to succeed, they need to I mean they need messaging. They just
Yeah.
need it.
Yeah.
Don't sell messaging to the musicians. They won't get it. They're like, "What are you talking?" Like you can do your whole explaining, you can try and pitch it to them, and they're like, "Dude, I just want to make music. What are you talking about all this stuff?" Like, help me make a living at this. So what you have to do is you have to say, okay, I know messaging is going to be a part of it. How does that fit into practicing extreme empathy? What the musician wants, and in your opinion, and this is I'm asking you now,
Yeah.
what do you think musicians want? And list a couple of them.
To be heard. Um, and I find a lot of, at least the people I'm around, like they have such big hearts and such big visions that they really want to make like global movements. So it's like being able to like fine tune that message, but also to be able to like share it to the world.
So, how do you think they like what would they have to see or receive or feel in order for them to say this has been a successful relationship? I feel heard now. Does that make sense?
Mm,
Would it be they need to see a bunch of YouTube views? Is it they need to have a contract? Is it they need
I
to
say
be
it's like,
booked
what's the
on
result?
shows?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What's the result? Hmm. I'm I'm hitting a blank.
And this is good because when you hit this blank, that's when you start to talk to people. Because a
Yeah.
lot of this stuff you can't make in your head. You can't guess what people are thinking.
Yeah.
So what you would do is that you do as much of this process as possible, and then you go talk to a musician and say, "Look, here's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
You those passion that passion that you were talking about. It breaks my heart that you guys aren't making music. What
Yeah.
do you want? Well, I want to be heard. Okay, well, what does that mean to you? What does it mean to you to be heard? And then they'll say, well, gosh, like I see these other musicians and they're on YouTube and they're getting all these views. And I think if I had that exposure, here's what I would do. And da da da. And you just sit there and you listen.
Yeah.
And you'll find not only your offer in listening, but you'll find how to say it back to them. So your
Hmm.
own messaging for selling that service is created for you.
Right.
And if you can find two or three people who say the same thing, you've got a market. I mean, if two or three people are saying the same thing, there's probably thousands of people who are saying the same thing. That's
Mm.
just how human beings are. And so that might be where you're at in this particular process is to go talk to those people.
Cool. I'm looking at time. We actually went a little bit over, but I was so in it. um, okay. Cool. So if we could give like a step by step of what we did in that process, really quick summary, and then
Yeah, absolutely. So first, you want to take a look at your own reasons behind why you want to start this business so that you can be clear about what's in bounds and out of bounds.
okay.
Second, you want to look at all of your passions, your interests, your desires. Third, and just kind of catalog them, just kind of, here's all the things I'm really interested in. It'd be cool if we could combine these. Third, you then start the conversation of and practicing extreme empathy, which is who am I serving? What do they want? And in their minds, how will they know that they've gotten what they want? And
Mm,
from there, you walk it backwards
that's such a good question.
and you can create your whole business off of that.
Amazing. And then because it's so like focused on value, it's like pricing almost becomes irrelevant, I feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Incredible. Incredible. Okay. So we did go a little bit over time and that's okay. Um I'm sure everybody tuning in like got a lot of value out of that. So I want to That's okay. I wanted to let everybody know that Mike is actually also offering, if you want to extend this conversation, which I can't anymore, I got to wrap this up. But if you want to extend this conversation with Mike, he's actually giving you guys a free money mindset for creatives audio training. And it's going to dig deep into how to rethink price, money, and business transactions so you can confidently ask for what you're worth. I think it's like what? It's like 50 minutes long, Mike? Something like
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
yeah, so we're gonna
I
deep
actually
dive
forgot about
you. What?
that. I forgot about that.
Oh, he's like so generous. He just forgets the things he gives away.
Forgot.
Amazing. So that is also there for you guys. I'm going to throw the mic. I was gonna say throw the mic back to Mike for the last words. Any last note you want to leave the group?
Yeah, just you guys don't stop fighting to make a business out of your creativity. The world needs it now more than it ever has.
Mm,
There's also more opportunity. You have to fight through the noise a little bit, but it's worth it. And don't stop. We really need you. We really, really do.
we do. We really, really do. Even like when I was coming up with this like project, I was like the one thing that really stood to me was just like everybody has this unique gift that the world like needs. Like it
Hmm.
really needs. So I
Hmm.
love that note. It's resonating with me. Thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you.
This is my least favorite part is when I have to end the conversation. But I have to do it begrudgingly every time. So I'm just gonna end it off the same way I end everything. Stay inspired, stay motivated, and stay on your grind because the world needs that special gift that only you have. And on that note, we are both out of here. And
Bye.
yeah, bye. And I'll see you in the next one. And hopefully you'll see Mike if you go check out his money mindset for creatives. Okay. Bye guys.